let's go here. I think we're recording already. Yeah, and then we're streaming. So I think we're good. Hey, there we go. Awesome. I see my picture. Okay, cool. How's everybody doing today?
Wonderful, Jason. How about yourself?
Doing good. I got a little bit of information updated on the how to use the NFC cards for the first time kind of thing going on. So I'm excited. Well, I can share that with you guys again. I'll just copy that link. I'll throw it in chat for anyone who didn't have it last week. There, a little bit more information just on initializing the cards, and then I guess we'll just do on here, we'll throw on like step three using the cards. Three using the cards. Yeah, and then we'll fill that in afterwards. 18 bold. Okay, cool. Just it's pretty straightforward. It's just kind of tapping the cards. The first doc that we had was how to create the bulk list of cards, and then this doc here is how do you initialize the cards, and then step three will be just like using the cards out in the wild so that people can get more reviews. And that's kind of where I got with that. So I've got a ton of pages open. I'm going to close some stuff so I can see what I'm doing, and then. Oh, I gotta figure that out later. That's still there. What was that? What was that? Yeah, okay, cool. Right on. Well, let me know how you guys have been doing, and if you guys have if you guys have run into roadblocks or anything like that, roadblocks, this week, and how I can help you out.
Well, I guess fortunately, I don't have anything
Okay.
new to ask or bring. I'm just working on some of my stuff here personally on my
Okay.
laptop and figured I would just be ears today. So since it's just Michael and myself, I'm gonna let him roll, and if not, then I should be good.
If not, I'll go through some interesting things that I've learned about high level that we've been kind of playing around with. Michael, did you have any questions today, or are you just kind of listening in too? Might be in a loud place.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. I'm sorry. I'm
Hey.
just listening today. Jack was going
Okay,
to call
cool.
in, but you might have a different link today. I don't know. I'll make sure
No,
he gets in here
yeah,
shortly.
it's the same one as always. It's
No. Okay.
if not, if you can't, if anything, it's always ghlpowertools.com/Zoom. Yeah, it's always the Tuesday and Thursday call. Um, okay, cool. Well, no problem. I don't know. Do you guys know much about custom objects inside of high level? They're kind of
No.
they're kind of interesting.
Is that I've actually looked at that a little bit and I think I set it up wrong. So if you have any insight on maybe how to navigate through some of that, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. We started working on a project for a client here, and we started using custom objects. And custom objects, you can almost think of it as like um you can almost think of it like it's like almost like a little database inside of high level. So like contacts, inside of high level, your contacts are a custom object. It's just a built-in one. And then same thing with, so contacts are already a custom object. Opportunities are a custom object. And where there was one other one that I know that was also a custom object that was just the built-in. Anyway, so those are two good examples. It's like so inside here we basically have a database here of contacts, right? That's our CRM. Same thing with opportunities. We have a database of like opportunities. So I haven't really used custom objects before, but we started using it for um, this other client, and it's actually worked out really well. We've been tying it in with N8N and doing some automations through there because we can do some cool stuff with the API inside of high level, and then without having to do like custom programming. So we've been playing around with N8N using custom objects, and then we're able to manipulate that data and everything there. So custom objects, so think of it as like the one project that we're working on is we have three different custom objects that we created was loans. So when loans come in through the system from another place, we can store those loans inside of CRM for and then any kind of milestones or updates or anything like that that comes in, we can send out messaging to customers for that. A good example that people always we're also using it for leads, which is another thing. And then a cool thing that we came up with was with users, when you have a bunch of users in your system, you don't have like let's say you had a whole team of salespeople and each one had different URLs and different websites and different social media links and different things that you want to include on there. We're tying in different custom objects for like members and stuff. So tying in that kind of information. And the cool thing is you can associate different contract contacts to different things. So kind of that might be a little bit confusing, but a good example that they always give in any of the videos that I've seen is considering like a car, right? You have, if somebody buys a car, you could have a database of cars inside of high level. So with those cars, you could have let's say we're going to have car as the custom object and then plural, we have to put cars. And then we're going to say what is going to be the primary display field name. So with that is, let's see, Judy House is coming back in here. Res Connect store. Let's just taking a look at participants. So inside of here, now let's think about this. We have a car. We have different attributes for that car. We have make, model, year. We have the color. We have the type of car, whether it's like a sedan, a truck, anything like that. We can store all that information, but then we can also tie in who is the owner of the car, and then who is also the co-owner of the car, those kind of things. And all that stuff can be stored inside of high level. And then you can have contacts associated with that car so that you know, like, yeah, who the owner is and everything like that. And then you can access that information for different marketing material. Now, so it's kind of interesting. So, like, let's say here, for example, the primary display field name would be, what would we do for yeah, so this might be like the VIN number or something like that, right? Because that would be something that is unique to each car, or license plate could also be that kind of thing. So it's going to be a single line text field. Mark primary field is unique. 0 10. Yeah, so there. And then we can change the icon, and then we can create a custom object. So with that, so we just created a car number. We're gonna store each car by their VIN number, and that's also how we can pull up that car. Now we can create custom fields. So inside here, I would just do a bunch of single line ones for now, which might be make. We're gonna store it as in car info, and then hit save. And then let's go add another field. Is that going to be to the car object? I hope so. Single line, next, car. And then, so this could be model. Store that in their car info. And then let's go single line, make, model, year. Or let's do color. Car info. And then what else would we want to do? Make, mother, yeah, I mean the next one is, let's just say year. here. Those are like the four like main ones. Uh, Make, model, year. Anytime you're checking in your car, or I guess you could do license plate as well. So let's just for some like license, although that could probably change. License plate, car info, save. All right. So now we have this. If we go back to let's go back to, oh, here we can see cars now too. So we get a database on the side here that says all the cars that we have in our system. Now, if we wanted to add a car, we can click add a car. We can put in a number for the VIN number, whatever that's going to be, hit save. Um, we can add owners and followers here. So these would be users for this. So if you are a car sales place or something like that, you might have a user which is a salesperson that you can add on here. You can also add followers. Followers are people who aren't going to be the owners of the car or the salespeople, but it might be like this might be the sales guy. This might be the sales manager who's following the sale of this car through this whole thing. I've seen other people use these too for like a pet store, or not pet store, but a veterinary clinic or something like that, because people could have multiple pets and then bring in their pets to a vet, let's say, for example. And then those, they might have, let's say they had three dogs, and those three dogs are all assigned to one contact who owns the contact or the pet. And you can do that under associations here too. So we'd have to create an association, but we can do that in a second. So like, let's just go with Nissan, Titan, and then color is going to be blue, year 2017, license plate, Canadian, V1W, I don't know. There we go. And then hit save. So then now we'll have, I mean, you can upload images and stuff like that of people's car and everything there too. So if we close this and hit refresh, we can see now that we have a car in here. What we'll want to do is we can also add, if we go back to our objects under settings, is we can go to cars and then we can create associations as well. So this is where we can tie contacts into that association. If you have different custom objects created, they will also show up under here. So you could do a different associations for I don't even know what it would be when it would be for cars, but you can create different custom objects and then tie those custom objects together as well. One of the things that we're doing with the loan type stuff is when we have all the brokers and everything tied in, which is interesting, is that we can say, hey, we've got for each user, we can tie in who their manager and everything is as well, who are followers kind of on this whole process. And so when we pull that, we tie that then member onto the loan as well, and then we can see, okay, who is all involved with this. It's really interesting. So you could do the same thing for like a car sales place, right? So you could say you could have a different thing in here just called managers or something like that, and you can tie in um, who is being sold, who is following along on that car sale as well. So in here though, we're just going to do a contact. We're going to call this, yeah, we're just going to call this one owner. This is going to be the car owner. This is if we were going to do this is kind of interesting too, because you could do if you're doing sales, you could be like, yeah, so you could be the buyer and then the seller as well. But right now we're just going to put one for owners. Let's just, if say we were making a database of people who owned the car. Um, I think that's right. And then hit preview owner. Why do we can't hit save yet? Many to many, because we can have many owners to Well, we could have, I guess we could have many owners. One car, Let's just leave it many to many. Owner, contacts. That can't be capitalized. So let's hit save. So then if we went back to cars and we clicked on this and we click on associations, now we can associate a new contact as the car owner. So Steve Jenkins is the guy that I just threw in there for playing around with the NFC cards. So he is now the owner of a 2017 Nissan Titan. So if we now go to check contacts and we go check Steve Jenkins here, um, we can see under cars, where is it? General info, contact. Maybe we can't. No, we should be able to. Maybe it's under associations. Here, yeah, sorry, under associations, we can see that he is the owner of this car here. And if we click on that, it'll open up the details for that car. So um, I think it's easier to think of association, like the custom objects, as kind of like you have your own spreadsheet or database that you're creating of these different records, whatever they could be. It could be pets, it could be kids for a pediatrician, it could be kids for a dentist, it could be family members, it could be again, it could be cars, it could be anything that you want to bring in that's going to be tied directly to contacts. And then you're basically creating a custom database inside of High Level with each one of those different records, which you can then reference later on. What I found is I think because they're kind of fairly new, um, I know. I think they came out a year over a year ago, I believe. But there's some limitations inside of workflows when you're dealing with custom objects. Let's just go back here. So when you go to create a workflow for a custom object, you can say a cars-based workflow because that's one of the custom objects that we have, and then you can trigger this when a something happens or changes with that car or one of the fields with that car inside of high level. So it's pretty interesting too. Enable autosave now. So here we can say car object is created. We could then do let's just go like this. So anytime a car object is created, we can hit save, and then we can do some associations here. So you have to have associations with the object that is in there. So the association would be a contact. Anytime you associate a contact with a an object, then that's one of the associations. The interesting thing is you can't send out. It doesn't seem like you can send out text messages or emails from an object-based workflow. So when we create this car, we can't send a message automatically to those new customers or contacts. You can do other workflows that are tied to them, but you still can't send messages unless you do something like this add associated record to a workflow. So an associated record would be, in this case, a contact because we tied in contacts with that type of car. We know who the owner is, right? So when this car gets created and that association happens, we can then say, okay, now we're going to add this owner contact to a different workflow that maybe updates them on the status of their car or whatever it is. I hope that makes sense. Is kind of how I've been understanding the whole the whole custom object side of things. It's I've been trying to think of how we could use it for other things than what we're doing right now, and I don't really know. But I mean, I guess you could potentially have. you could have a database of rewards members or something like that. You could have we already have like a CRM of that. So, but I mean, you could update um custom objects, I suppose, with like their points and stuff, and then pull that information when you're going to send out emails or databases or send out emails or text messages or something like that. Um, what
So,
else could we
Jason,
do? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hello. Thanks.
you get a chance to stop talking for a second, right?
Yeah.
No, so and I appreciate you going through that because that did help clarify a couple things. One of the use cases that I have attempted was so my restaurant, we also have like an events side of things. So we have people
Okay.
that call in and they say, "Hey, I want to book a private party, for whatever, 2 months from now or Christmas party or whatever it is."
Yeah.
So I went and created a custom object for called events and went and did all of the different elements that you would need for line items, such as, what kind of food and when does the food come out and what kind of drinks and everything that you can
Yeah.
possibly imagine as columns. The first thing that I ran up against from a data management standpoint was the ability to sort the data. So as an example here, like if you have
Yeah.
100 cars in there and they're, whether it's Nissan or, you wanted to do top to bottom from, let's say, year. Let's show me the
Yeah.
oldest
Like,
car that you have in here,
yeah.
um, to be able to sort by that. Is that what you're doing right there? Will that
I don't know. So we have sort. But right now it's sort only by created. So I wonder how we can make it so that you could sort by year. So I mean here, this is just adding a filter of saying,
Mhm.
hey, only show me the years, the cars that were made in 2017
Right.
kind of thing, right? So we hit apply there, then it'll only show us cars that were made in 2017. Um, I don't know how to make it so that we could sort by those
Sort by
dates.
date. So like show me the
The
sequential.
latest, like which ones
Like
come
I
in
have this
next.
week, I
Yeah,
have next week, I have the following week. I want to have that in sequential order so that I can easily look at it and see what events I have coming up in a snapshot instead
for
of.
sorting. So I wonder if like let's just see something here. So if we go into objects, we go to cars, let's go to add custom fields, and then let's go date picker. Um, let's just go sale date, just as an example kind of thing. We'll store it under car and then car info. Let's go sales date. That just sounds better. Or sale date, I don't know. And then if we go back and go to cars, let's go here. Let's pick a date, which would be the 23rd. Save. I wonder if that would give us. No, that's still created at, if we go manage fields, sort by. Yeah, I found that it's definitely not we can't do.
It's not advanced like
There,
the other records are yet.
no, there's definitely stuff that we can't do. And I even found that with the database. So even with trying to pull in like so for example, with every car, we want to tell the owner, the co-owner, the salesperson, the sales manager that, hey, this person had the car for 5 years. Let's send everybody a message or whatever. Or they hit 160,000 miles or whatever, and they 100,000 miles, and it's time for insurance or sell the car or whatever. Um, we can't even do that all inside of high level. That's why we had to like you can do it via the API, the high level API, which is neat, but we still had to end up creating a workflow here to pull in the user who's in charge of that sale, right? And then pull in the details of that car, then pull in, who are the other people associated with that car. So then, and then get all their information. And then, for example, here we're firing all that information back into a workflow inside of high level so that we can email and text message everybody when the car hits 100,000 miles, you
Hmm.
know, that kind of thing. So, using N8N has been pretty simple. We've been using the API. High level does have like an integration with N8N in order to do it. Um, but it's limited on what it can do there. I don't think it can interact with custom objects yet, but it can interact with like contacts and things like that. But using the high level API and using the what do we call it? The inside of high level, instead of going through and doing like a what's it called? A like going through the marketplace and creating integration, you can do you can do a private integration. And this basically gives you a key that changes every 90 days that you can then import into anything like Make or N8N or something like that, which is essentially an API key, which allows you to interact back and forth with all the data. So, yeah, one other thing too is like, how do we export? Another question I have is like, how do we export? Oh, there we can go export there. Manage smart lists. Like, if can we create? I'm gonna have to look into that. So, smart list share with all. It just doesn't even show. So, can we create a smart list of advanced filters? Yeah, we don't want to do that. But sort by, yeah, it'd be nice to be, yeah, if we had a date field in here, then we could do something like that. Another frustration with custom objects inside of automations is even if you have a date field of this sales date, you can't do anything with it. You can't pull in a date into automations in high level with this. So let's say for example, we wanted to um even under a trigger here. So the car was created, but if we can't pick the sales date. So let's say, hey, the sales date has passed or something like that. We can't check to see if there's a sale date in there inside of high level automations. So there's some workarounds to try and do that, but it's that's kind of weird too. So there are definitely limitations to using custom objects inside of high level, and then I'm assuming like it's going to get better as we go. A lot of stuff that they have in here is beta right now. It'll say beta beside it. Um, so I feel like it's just going to get better, but it's kind of a start. We can store that information in here right now, but it's not giving us a lot of options for manipulating it. Like, so yeah, so reservations would be another one that you could do, or events. Here are your next, here are the three events that are going on today kind of thing, or having event by date, right? And then you could mark them off when they're done. Um, that kind of thing would totally be helpful as well. I know we can pull this information via the API and show it somewhere else now. Like, so for example, if we had a database of events here and we wanted to create an external page or an external API call that then pulled in those events by date, we could probably do that a lot easier than we could by trying to sort it on this actual events calendar. But that would probably still make it difficult if you're trying to do events and you're trying to see if you have another event scheduled on the same day. Um, how do you even do that?
Sorry, say that again.
Like if you had another, like let's say for example, you have an event. Like if you have a list of events, you would probably
Mhm.
want to know, hey, do we have more than one event scheduled on the same
Cor-
day?
Right. And right
right?
now, yeah, right now we have a workaround. We're just using um a the Google Drive or the Google Docs.
Hmm.
And we have, we have the master Google Doc that we just literally put line items of the date and the time, and then, the title of the event. And then we have a folder that also has the date and time, as the title. And then we have all of the details of the event in that Google Doc. So
Okay.
what I'm trying to do is figure out, I mean, even if we have to continue to use that, then I'd like to figure out how to put that data from one of the forms um, into a Google Doc or Google Sheet or something like that, just
Yeah.
to keep everything organized. But ideally, I'd like to keep everything in high level so I don't have to, have multiple platforms.
Yeah, because you could create a form that has all the information for that, and then through automations, you can add that in, or you could have that, you could still store it in a custom object in here with all that information, and then when that custom object gets created, then you could potentially send all that information out to the Google Doc if you
Hmm,
wanted to still have that information there. So, because then you could have like, so we could say when this car gets created, I think we should still be able to say we can still go to Google Sheets here.
gotcha.
Um, with that information and store that information there. We use Google Sheets a lot for lead reporting and stuff inside of high level. So I guess there's also Google Contacts, Google Forms, things like that. So we end up using Google Sheets quite a bit because we can share it with different businesses and show them, hey, here's all your leads that came in, so they don't have to log into high level. They just have a link that's growing from their lead generation. So that's a possibility if you're doing that. You could also, if this happens, so if you did like created an event and you couldn't do everything you wanted to do in Google Sheets, you could fire off a trigger to something like Make or N8N to do all the stuff that you want to do as well. So you can bring the details in from high level and then do a Google Sheet, create a Google Drive, create a folder, create all the things that you want, and then
Hmm.
drop everything into each spot automatically when you create that. And that could be all triggered off of like a high level form, right? So somebody could create, you could have a form that they fill out with all the details. When they fill out the information for those details, then it goes and you can create the object if you want to, just have a record of it inside of high level. And then also when it does that, then you can trigger something like yeah, N8N or Make or something like that to then drop things into different folders, create the folders for a new event, that kind of stuff as well. I believe that would totally be possible.
So what would the benefit be to creating that separate objects area if there's limitations? What would the benefit be to having that versus another folder underneath contacts? So, right now,
Right now,
like,
I don't know. I don't know what the I for especially for events, right? Like for if we can't sort that in here, then I don't know what the benefit would be. You're right.
but like in your example here with cars, um, is there any benefit to keeping cars in a separate database versus underneath the contacts tab if you have custom fields and you put all the custom fields in a folder and basically recreate that underneath your contacts tab?
Yeah. So the benefit is if we want to have like a one to many or many to
Oh,
many
I see. Okay.
association, right? So we have one car and maybe we have four family members who are associated with that one car kind of thing. So we can then check to see who is associated with that car, and then based on that, we can send out a message to every family member saying this, you just hit 100,000 miles or something like that. Or if you had an event going on and you had like four different contacts inside of high level for that event, then you could set up a workflow potentially that would say, hey, when this workflow fires, or when we get to, I mean, ideally, when we're close to the date, send off a message to everybody automatically saying, you know, we've got this event coming up. Also, send a message to your staff because I know
Right.
there occasionally, there's an event going on and people forget that the event's happening. And then the customer doesn't call in to check on things either. There was something I saw in like Kelowna Rant and Rave where somebody contacted a taco place to get like a catering order, and they didn't follow up, they didn't ask about it, they didn't contact the business um totally forgot about it somehow. And then they were complaining because they called at like 10:02 and said, "Where's the food?" And then the restaurant was like, "What?" And they're like, "Oh man, I'm sorry." And then the restaurant rushed and like made their like 50-person order or whatever it was, but they were like an hour and a half late or whatever to get the food there or whatever. But I'm like, every time we've done an event, it's like you got to call to make sure, hey, this is happening today. I want to make sure like we're good. But some people don't. But maybe that's where you'd want to have the messaging go out. We've got that event happening. Um, that kind of thing. But yeah, the if we can use dates a lot more, that would be way better because right now I see it as a big limitation inside of high level with dates not being even usable inside of workflows for objects. So, and then clearly it's not usable here either. Like if we had a date field, it'd be awesome to, hey, let's sort by date field, you know.
Right.
We can't sort by name, VIN number, nothing. Just created, added, and updated. So it's kind
So
of
really I mean, what the benefit of this is to create a separate database that kind of sits on its own that you can access, but you still have to use external tools in order to pull and send and receive data from that.
yeah, like so you can if especially if it's like timely, right? Like if you want to trigger anything off of a date or time, then I think you need to use an external tool to find out when that date is and send a message uh
Gotcha.
for that. Um if I learn more about it, I know I posted in the high level group asking if anybody had any insight, and one person they just said when you get an update in, say from the external tool, because we're bridging an API, a different database with high level for this, so we're bringing in information from a different database, bringing it into high level, and then displaying all that information here. That way, um the salespeople have can just go into high level and they can just see what's there, and then they can also just see anything that's just associated with them. So, hey, if we had users associated in here, so like the owners, so we can just, hey, I just want to see all cars that are only associated to me, because I created them kind of thing as a user inside of high level. I only want to see my cars that I'm working on. I don't want to see everybody's cars. So you can do something like that too. Um, with it. It'd be cool if we could create. Um,
Hi, Jason. Can I jump in
I'll
for
see
a
if I can figure
second
out
here?
something else with it too. Yeah, Judy, absolutely.
Um, as you're explaining this, like I've been wanting to help people with insurance because
Okay.
insurance brokerages and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's just like it's so cumbersome to like enter all the data and stuff like that. And so I'm wondering, if this could work. Sounds like maybe it could work with insurance brokers, like for them to be able to automate it somehow with an external app that I don't know that you've built, even that a person has built, even or something like that.
Yeah.
Whether it's a
Well,
workflow.
you could. So you could totally have, like, yeah. So one of the other projects we're working on is with mortgage brokers. Same kind of thing with insurance brokers, right? They have a case that comes in, or they have an insurance deal or whatever that they're working on with whether it's like health insurance or whatever, you could totally have a database here, and that could be fed from a form that you have on the website. So every time they have a new deal coming in, they could fill out a form. It could create um, a new insurance object inside of here, and then they could also tie in the contacts as well as salespeople and followers and stuff there too.
Yeah,
So now if you
I find
had,
the biggest thing that's so cumbersome, like for insurance, is quotes, right? Like they're bombarded
yeah,
with people that want quotes, and they have to get like so much information just to get the quote and stuff, and
yeah,
to fill that in, like they don't have that automated, and so yeah, like I ran into that because I changed insurance companies or brokerages in 2025, in the summer of 2025.
yeah.
And some of them, well, most of them, like this one in particular that I wanted a quote from, they're like, oh yeah, it's going to take like a month at least before I can get back to you, because
Oh,
they only
okay.
had one person doing it, like
Yeah.
for all of, I don't know, Alberta or something like that.
Well, yeah, and then I know people who are like they do insurance and they're like a sales rep from their home kind of
Yeah,
thing too. And
yeah.
so they just work at home, but they manage and process all the requests that come in. So
But
same kind of thing, right? Like you have insurance brokers, you have mortgage brokers, you have those you can set it up. It does take a little bit to manage it, but I mean, they could have, they could send a document over to someone, have somebody fill out their information, and then it could create a lead for them. You
yeah,
could have a lead object in there where somebody filled out all the information that they do. Then that lead could, through some sort of automation, could get transferred into like an in process one. Yeah, so there's
yeah,
different ways of doing that, or you can just have a loan or an insurance object, and one of the fields in here is like what's the status of it, and it might just be a lead, you know, so they can manage those.
yeah. I think all leads in insurance start with quotes, right? Everybody
Yeah,
wants a quote. So yeah, they need all that information and
they
need
need
to.
all the health information, stuff like that. Sometimes when they start working on that, they need to go for blood work and you need to go do a bunch of other things as well in order to make that happen. But I think the only like the biggest downside that I've found with objects in here, especially for something like that, is the lack of support for dates in the whole thing, because even with that, if you're going to do like whether it's events or insurance things, or you have different like insurance, you're going to have different milestones that you're going to hit as well, right? We've got the quote, we've got the information we need. If they need blood work, they set a date for the blood work, when we need to have that by, all those things, whether they, then it's quoted, was it accepted, all those kind of things. So you can have different milestones and different dates inside there. We found a little bit of workaround of just like being able to provide what the milestone is at a certain point when it gets updated, but not being able to, hey, you're almost up for renewal.
Yeah,
You're up for renewal. I want to get a notification in the email when somebody's up for renewal, or and we have an event coming up. I want to be able to send out an email and a message 3 days prior to the event, 2 days, one day, just so make sure that everything is good. And then I want to make sure our staff get all the messages and reminders that, this event is happening so that we don't skip it or miss it.
can't you make a workflow for that?
You can make a workflow, but you can't access the date. Um, we can't access the date field inside of. uh, Yeah, so we don't have a date in here. at all. We can't access the date field, which is totally dumb, but we can access the date field from inside of high level. We got sales date there is, but we're not going to select it. So I bet we could possibly do that. So if you had, that's when it gets created, not updated, though. We'd want to do a trigger. I'm gonna look into it too, because it might be something where we could do, it's not gonna get updated, but how do we trigger another workflow from happening? I'd like to trigger a workflow to happen when something gets updated. So if I said, but then we're also limited on what we can do here too. So if we had wait, time delay, we can't do a condition. Yeah, there's things that I'm interested in.
Well, what if you did like a workflow that had dates on it from the start date and stuff like that to send out a message like, I don't know, because it's like a year later or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
when somebody needs to renew their insurance or whatever. So you want to get a message like a month before that renewal date. So you make a workflow where you get a message in 11 months. Like, I'm wondering
Yeah,
too,
well,
if that.
that's what I'm trying to do as to, because in the other workflows we can say, or maybe there's a way around it, but in the normal workflows, what you can do is you can take a date, you can make sure it's formatted into the proper thing, and then you could also say that um oh, here's maybe something we could do. Just, I don't know if it could work. So I was just thinking about it. So I just saw this. So we can say the car sales date is um in the next 2 days, 3 days, before, well, a specific date. It's tomorrow. So if it's tomorrow, let's say if that date was tomorrow, then we could add associated record to a workflow, select the contact, select the owner, and then we can add them to a text messaging workflow where we're going to send them a message about, hey, your event is tomorrow. Is everything good? But the problem with this, the problem with this is that this only gets triggered when a car is created, or like, so for example, a car has changed. If a field inside of one of those objects has changed, then we can trigger this. But I haven't found yet, let's just say I haven't found yet a way to say, I want to keep looking. I want to keep tabs on this, because like, so for example, what we were just talking about, where you said with can we set an event kind of thing. So if we were in here, just in a normal workflow, we can have event um, set event start date. So the event start date can be a custom field, and that custom field could be, some event date that they have in here. So, I mean, with their event, you could potentially just store that. So if Jeff is still listening here, if we created an event for that customer, we could have um, an event date that could then message them that their event is going to happen. And then this could be based off of this date, because we can go let's just say right now, let's just use this as an example. So if we had an event start date, we can then send we do a wait, which is kind of neat. We can do a wait off of that, but we can then say uh event I think we can do that. And then we could say event slash appointment time. And then we could say before, we could say 1 day before 1 days. And then it would move to the next step. And then here's where we can send out a message to that. But this would be tied into a contact. So I don't know what the difference is when somebody goes and creates an event, or like, somebody calls in and said, hey, I want to have an event on this day, how often it changes. But if that's tied into a custom field on a contact record, then you could then have those dates in there. You just almost end up having the dates in two different spots.
Could
Now,
you theoretically pull the calendar? Like you could put it on, you could create an event calendar in the calendar
yeah, if you
section.
have an event calendar, yeah, you
Okay.
would just do event start date. So then you probably don't even have to do that. You could just have a contact in here and it's just based off of the appointment time.
Awesome.
So I've used this for different things. Like I've used this one, the event start time, where we had a list of trainers. Every time they could create a different event of where they wanted when they wanted to have an event. So they went into high level, they filled out a form, they picked the date they wanted to have their event, and then we would then send that email, and then it would send out an email to all of their whole list of when the date is going to be. In the URL that people had to RSVP the date, we had the date formatted in there. So when somebody clicked on that date, that URL, it went to another form where they would RSVP, and it would have the date field in there. Then when they hit submit there, it would go into a field here. So this would be like the RSVP form um, received kind of thing. Somebody RSVP'd for that training event. Then we took the date from the URL that was passed, like the form field, and then we formatted it and we created an event start time from that. And then from that event start time, we could then say, okay, now we're going to send a message out 2 days before, 1 day before, that kind of thing. And the only reason why we did it that way is because we had multiple trainers using the same form to create their own events. And then everybody could RSVP through the same form, but it would have a different date. It would have a different date, different time, different thing like that. So as long as the same person wasn't like trying to RSVP for multiple dates, then or for the same date, then it worked out really well. I think we had another way of handling it too, because it would send them to different workflows. But this event start time here, so where you can take a custom field that gets passed in and then set an event and then hit all your reminders off of that custom field, you could totally do that. So I guess if we created that other workflow that said, okay, let's have the workflow for, okay, this event gets updated or triggered, or it gets created, then based off that, if the date is, we can figure out what the date is, but then we could send that date information potentially over to here. We'd have to look into that, but there's some neat things we can do. I think we just got to figure out why high level makes it so complicated. And then we could send it over. So we have the owner in here, but we also have, yeah, the that's the car owner. And then based off that car owner, because this is going to be like I own in this one here, for example, I own the Nissan Titan. And if the sales date is going to be whatever date it is, when I send this person, when I send myself or this association over to a regular workflow, then I can pull that association date, that event date or whatever it is from that contact, and then send them messages and send out all the messaging from that. So if we had it as an event example, we could have um, if when the event gets created, check to see when that event is. This one says tomorrow. Um, this is still this I would say this is still pretty limited because we're not doing it, but we don't even have to, like, let's say we don't even have to check to see what the date is. We could simply just say, hey, we're going to move this here. Let's get rid of this. So when the event gets created, then send somebody over to the other workflow, send this contact over to the other workflow where we're going to use that event trigger to create a schedule for their event. We're going to format the date, or no, that's a different one. We're going to schedule them for another event, and then have all of our messaging lined up after that. That would work for the create. You probably have to create a different workflow for on a change event when something changes. Reschedule that event date. Just provided that event date happens to change. Judy, yeah, clear as mud. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of playing around and then trying to figure out what are the little workarounds because it's not so straightforward. So it's like, oh, what if we do this thing? I was talking to someone in the high level group, messaged me after we couldn't um, just trigger something off of a loan being updated because, like in insurance, there's lots of times where that the details for that loan would get updated, right? So, or the insurance quote or insurance process would get updated. So for example, every time somebody makes a change in this other software, it sends out an update. In our process, high level grabs that update and then we update the event too, the loan event, the quote event. And so that's being updated multiple times per sales cycle. So it's not so big of a deal to be like, we just wait for the next event to come in. So because when that new next event comes in, or the next update event, the change event, that means they'd hit a new milestone or something else changed inside that loan. So we're keeping everything updated, but then we can keep checking inside of high level saying like, hey, did this update, did this update, did this update? But if you had a thing for an event and you're putting in there once, here's all the details for the event and it's not being updated or changed. Far as I can tell, we don't have a way to be like, hey, has this changed yet? Or have we hit that date yet? What is going to trigger that the emails and messaging and all that kind of stuff to go off of? But if we created the event, then also stored the event date in the contact record because they filled out a form or something, we could potentially then um, trigger all the messaging to go out off of that. A little bit of work on it. I might play with it a little bit to see um, how else that'll work. But I think kind of what we did here, when the event first gets created, we could then send that contact, so long as the date, like say for example, they filled out a form, we could
I,
update that information.
I got one more quick question and then
Yeah.
I gotta go.
All right.
You mentioned earlier about like a private API key
Hmm.
and that it renews like
So the private
every
integration
90
key,
days or
yeah,
something like
so
that.
with the private integration key, oh, here, let me just share my screen again. With the private integration key, you can create a integration key here, and then so for example, let's go test integration. there, hit next. You can select the scopes that you want, what you want to be able to update or change or edit or look for or anything in there. Um, they've got all the stuff. So this is basically says, hey, when we go to do something with the API, what can we do? So if you were just doing something that was just like, hey, I just want to be able to write blog posts, update blog posts, and do those things, or hey, maybe we just want these four things because we're just doing something with blog posts. Um, that's it, right? Those are the four that we need. If there is what's another one?
So, but
Contact.
the key, you said the key is gonna
Yeah,
update,
so
like,
let's just say this is how you go and create it. So now this is our private integration key. Right
uh-huh.
here, we copy that and we can use that in any of our make, N8N, whatever workflows. And then I believe it is recommended you rotate your key token for every 90 days for better account security. So I guess you don't have to.
So you have to just go. You actually have to go in. That's what I'm asking. You actually have to go in and change the key yourself every 90 days. That's what they're suggesting there.
Yeah, just for better account security.
Okay, so that's something, a manual thing. That's
Yeah, so
not.
if you go rotate
eh,
and expire this token later, it'll automatically change the token for you after 7 days. If you click rotate and expire this token now, it'll get rid of this token and it'll create a new one for you. But that's
But
yeah, that's sort of
does that like take away your access in somehow or another?
yeah, it'll stop the API from working. It'll
It,
stop
it,
the API, it'll stop the API from working with whatever automation you set up. So if you're doing
like the
something here,
N8N or whatever.
yeah, N8N or make or whatever, you need to have the API key in order to, or that private integration key to, in order to make any of the calls or anything like that.
So,
So
so the private integration key is coming from high level.
yeah, the private integration key is in high level.
So it's to access high level. It's for N8N or make or whatever to access high level.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's yeah, it allows whatever you're building outside of high level to be able to access inside of high level. It allows you to access all your data inside of your sub account. So there is a private integration key per sub account, but then there's also one for your agency as well. So if you're under agency settings, there's some stuff that if you're getting into like messing around with the API, it's you can create an agency level integration. And this is, I've only found that this is useful for like SaaS plans and if you want to access like user data. So you have users and salespeople and team and staff and stuff like that. You need to use the agency one in order to access those users.
Okay.
But yeah. And
Okay.
then so the last thing I was wondering here, just because we were talking about it, but is like one or AI. I think that was an AI test center. Maybe I wasn't. No, I think it's A1. Here with cars. What was I one? Oh, I just lost it. Um, it was, I might have to save it. I was just thinking about it. APIs, integrations, um, with the car. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Second thing to go.
Yeah, all right.
Hey,
Um,
I got a quick one for you. I'm
yeah,
having some
absolutely.
challenges with these links, these trigger links. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you can.
Let's see what we got here. Well, where it is. Again, I've looked all over. How do I get this to go visit your rewards dashboard? As that comes in, it doesn't do anything now. There's
So
one here, and then there's
click on it.
your dashboard here. What's that?
Yeah, so go up and click on it.
And go anywhere.
and then click on the link icon that's highlighted blue in the top menu. And then you can delete that trigger link. And then click on the tag. And then it would be linked to loyalty dashboard.
Loyalty, I'm looking for rewards. Are they the
Yeah,
same?
loyalty and rewards. Yeah, that's the same one.
They called. That's a challenge.
Yeah, because in there, yeah, there's loyalty. There, like it's the loyalty. It was originally called the loyalty system. It's loyalty system, and then it's got
So it's the same with this one too, because that goes to the same one.
yeah.
All right. Well, I looked all over for rewards because I thought the rewards were separate from the loyalty, but okay.
The whole thing is like the loyalty system, the whole thing, and then rewards is part of it because that's where you're getting like the points and the rewards and those kind of things where you can share
Oh,
out
that's that
referrals and all
invalid.
that kind of thing. Just I think there's probably like a just look, there's probably like a space or
I'll
something
see
at
that
the
one.
start or at the end.
That one just went nowhere. So this one,
Yeah.
same thing. We go into it, delete this one. Of course, that's the one I just put in there,
Yeah, then that's probably fine.
and then link to.
Loyalty
And
dashboard.
again, what's the difference between refer this one? Because I just put this one in and it still
Yeah, do
doesn't
that one.
work.
Well, you can't test it. You need to send it from an email because it needs to be tied directly to a contact.
It says invalid URL.
So there's probably a white space before or after.
Not
Yeah, just hit save. It'll be fine.
okay.
You
And
can't
how do I
test.
test this?
Um,
From what email?
yeah, you need to select an actual contact inside of high level in order to do it. So is that a contact or is that just like an email? That probably won't work. It'll send you the message, but it won't test it properly. Like it won't go anywhere. Well, it might go somewhere. So yeah, just hit send test if you want.
Just hit send test without it having
No,
addresses in there?
no, you have to put addresses in.
Both the same? That's
Nope. But one is from like where are you sending it from, and then where are you sending it to?
I
Just for,
know, but
for just for deliverability. Do you have an email address inside of high level, a domain that you're sending from? Because that's
I'm
primarily
sure he does. I don't. Um,
okay.
globalsynergy.tech. All right, let's see if that does it. Go ahead and hit send test.
Yeah, try it. And it should take you to the right page.
Yeah, no. Okay, well, again, you answered my question. I was looking for something that didn't exist because it said rewards. It was where we're sending it to. I didn't know loyalty and rewards were the same. I thought they were two different things.
Um, yeah, there's a loyalty dashboard, which is the login where you can see all your points, your referrals, you can earn more points, you can see the rewards, you can see all those things. And then there's that's pretty much the only dashboard that there is
Okay,
for the whole for the customers to log in to be able to see stuff. That's their login. Yeah, it's called the loyalty dashboard.
yeah. All right. Michael, do you have an email that I can test this with to where it's coming from?
It's probably something at resconnect.store or something like that.
Yeah, you can send it to info@resconnect.store.
You could probably
Info
send it, yeah,
at
from.
resconnect.store. And then it should send it to me at
Sure.
Global Synergy Tech.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You,
Yes.
you
Either
might
way.
want to save that snippet.
Yeah,
Okay.
before I send it. Anyway. All right. Well, that was easy enough. Sorry to bother
All
you.
right. No, that's all good. Yeah, sorry for the confusion on that. I'll paste this. I shared this with you guys last week too, but I know a couple people came in a little bit later, so it's just a rehash of the how to use the NFC cards. The first one that we sent out last week was how to create the bulk list and order cards, and then this one is how to initialize the card after it's been created, and then I'm just going to add in how to use the cards too, just like when you're out and about or after you hand it to a client, how does the client um how yeah, using the cards. Yeah, I'll get that updated shortly here as well. So that'll be good. All right. Well, glad I got to share some knowledge with you guys that I found about custom objects, and maybe I'll have some more information for you guys next week. I think I found a couple workarounds there for what we were talking about with the events that I didn't know before, but we'll keep you updated, and I'll let you know anything else that I find out about that too. All right.
Well,
All right. We'll talk to you guys soon.
thanks, Jason.
All right. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you.